everybody, Carol and Kristen here of Luminous Ministries, and we are here today to talk about one of our favorite saints.
She's a good one.
Yeah, she is. Saint Teresa Benedicta of the Cross, or maybe you've also heard of her referred to as Edith Stein, because that is her original name before she became a Carmelite nun. And she is just one of the greatest of the greats. She is often known for being a prolific writer. She was a
nurse. She was
a
a
nurse in World War I.
Philosopher.
Yes.
Deeply thought-producing. I mean, her quotes are just beautiful.
Yes.
But you really have to think, and
Well,
it
and
forces you to do that.
Yes, and an interesting fact about her is that she wanted to go on to be a professor, but because she was a woman and because of her Jewish heritage, she was not allowed to be a professor. So then, as you can probably think the timeline here, if she was a nurse during World War I, she was alive during World War II, and she was actually in the chapel. This makes me want to sob. She was in the chapel when the Gestapo came for her, and then she was taken to Auschwitz, and she died in a gas chamber. So just very, very sad as well, but just such an amazing woman who left us with so much wisdom, and that's what we want to share today. So we're going to share.
Well, you just said that, she was in the chapel and when they came after her. And interestingly enough, one of her quotes is, "One cannot desire freedom from the cross when one is especially chosen for the cross." And I think that she clearly saw herself as someone who was chosen for the cross. And here she is, isn't it poignant that she is in a chapel when the Nazis come after her, and that she was martyred for her faith. Yeah. That seems like such a terrible tragedy, except that from an eternal standpoint, being martyred for your faith is probably one of the most beautiful things that could happen to you. That, such a gift.
Well,
suffering should never go to waste, and she understood that.
Well, and dying for what you believe in, a reality, whether we like to think about it or not, is that, and who's the guy who actually said it? I don't know, but Dad says it all the time. This is not a Mike Kurivial original, though, is ain't none of us getting out of here alive. And I think, we like to, either not think about it, or we kind of forget. And the thing is, we are all going to die. And to know that your death truly meant something, and to know that you died fighting for what you believe in. And
well, here she is today. She's a saint, and here she was Jewish and started reading about Saint Teresa of Avila.
Yes, which is why she took the name Teresa.
Yeah, and she started reading about her life and was so inspired by her life that she chose to enter into the Catholic faith. Yep. And the rest is history. Yeah. Was a Carmelite. I don't know if we said that earlier, but
was a Carmelite nun.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing. But I also loved that quote about the cross. Did you have another one that you wanted?
I have all kinds.
Honestly, we had to say, okay, we can't share all of them. We hope to just whet your appetite.
Oh my gosh, there are so many beautiful things that she did have to say, and it's so funny because the fact that she was a philosopher, and I have to be honest, I did take a philosophy course in college, and it was so over my head that I was like, okay, there's nothing that you can't make some sense out of, right? I mean, that's kind of the way I view life. Like, okay, I can read this and I will make some sense out of this. But I remember it, in college. Of course, I was a lot younger too, but I would read something and go, I have no idea what that is supposed to mean. Yeah. And, here she is, this philosopher. So some of her quotes are pretty deep and depthful, and you really do have to dissect them piece by piece and try to figure out where she was going with that. And other things are very clear, you know. But so I have several, and I know you do too. One of the ones that I would like to start out with is because she said this a lot. It was kind of a theme that ran through a lot of her work. But do not accept anything as love which lacks truth. Do not accept anything as love which lacks truth. So I think that's beautiful, because what that speaks to me is I bring it back to myself. I have to constantly say to myself, what is truth? Is this really what happened? Is this really what was said? Is this really the truth? How would God view this? What is he thinking? And so, I think that is a good way to go through life, is to constantly be seeking the truth. Truth is all around us. and yet it gets muddied and it's messy. And, in all the murk and mire of life, you sometimes lose touch with the fact that, is there a real truth here? Yes, there is. There always is a real truth, but you have to work to find it sometimes.
Absolutely.
And I think that her thing was always work to find what the real truth is.
Absolutely.
And if at the end of the day, what the real truth is not virtuous, if it doesn't lead to peace and joy and understanding and whatever, then you have to say, okay, I need to keep working. And we all do.
And I think even on the flip side of this particular quote, also questioning what is love. So I was talking about truth and love, and the thing is, does someone really love you if their actions are not rooted in goodness and truth and God?
Yeah.
And and I think that so often that cannot be the case. And so it also comes back to discerning truth and seeking the truth, and also discerning and seeking, how can I grow more in true love and expressing that to people, and pure love.
Right.
Because I think sometimes in our world, I was just at a wedding this weekend, and they actually didn't have the love is patient, love is kind, but that was in my devotion this morning. And it's so going through, what is love really? And when you go through all of that, how often we fail to measure up to what love really is.
Right.
And so yet again, I think this quote is challenging on both fronts of constantly seeking the truth and then constantly striving for real love, because yet again, we often fall short of really loving people.
Which is why I think that a huge part of the Christian walk is learning to completely surrender yourself, to God, because we are horrifically human, all of us, and we go through a day and we have lots of ups and downs and ins and outs, and it's moments of joy and moments of sorrow and sadness and all of that, and we're always going to have that on this side of the pearly gates. So I think that we have to, I think that a good place to land is, I surrender myself to you. I can't do this without you. I can't live my life without you. And so
and to show me your truth. Show me how to love. Dynamic Catholic, there's a book that it's something like Ask Him, I think is the name of the book. They often quote it. And, it's saying, ask me, ask God what the truth is. Ask Him to show you how to love better. And so I think that can be a big takeaway.
Another Dynamic Catholic book that I just finished reading by Matthew Kelly is Life is Messy. Oh my gosh, it should be required reading for the world. I really believe that. I'm actually on my second time through, and I have told myself that I'm going to read a couple pages of it every day for the rest of my life, because the truth is, life is messy, and it is hard to always love. And what is love? What really is love? That is a really important question to get to the bottom of, I think, for all of us.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what's one of your quotes, Kristen?
So one of mine, even though there are so many, and it was funny because normally we don't chat at all about what our quotes are going to be, but Mom was texting me saying, oh, I'm going to do this one. I really love it. I go, I have that one on my list.
Both of the quotes that I wanted to share, she was like, I had that one too.
Yeah, so I had to diversify, but this one is great.
I told her that I texted her first with my quote, so I get it. I mean, is that fair?
So, anywho, fair or not
it's
fair,
okay.
We're
we can
moving
both
on.
Dialogue about each other's quotes.
Exactly. So,
Edith, we love you. We love all of your words.
So another one that I wanted to share was, one must go to the world in order to carry the divine life into it. And that actually reminds me of a video that we did recently about how, if we don't bring Jesus into certain spaces, who will?
Who will?
And so, obviously he is always present, but at the same time, like, our awareness of the presence, and are we really entering into his presence? And if someone else doesn't help everyone else enter into the presence, we're ignoring him.
Right.
And so I think that was such a cool quote of hers, is to say we have to bring the divine life into the world. We have to go out into the world and really help people see God, because he's everywhere, but we are so distracted, we're so busy, that we just fail to see all the ways that he is present to us, that he's loving us.
It's making me think of Mahatma Gandhi, who said, "Be the change you wish to see in the world." And listening to what you just said, we might say, "Be the light you wish to see in the world." Be the light, and just change it just down to those 3 very specific, easy words. Be the light. And so, wouldn't that be a nice prayer at the tip of your lips? It could be your mission statement as you go through life. Be the light.
Well, and even coming back to something that is profoundly Catholic is we take Jesus into our very bodies.
Yeah.
So Jesus is within us. We need to bring him into the world.
Right.
And so taking that, as you're walking out of Mass after just receiving Jesus, not walking out and being the same as you were before you came in, but walking out and really saying, I have Jesus within my very body. How should I be different walking out of here? And how am I going to carry him to all the people I encounter? Can be a fun challenge.
Yes, it can. Mm-hmm. Yes, it can.
Mm-hmm.
What, as the quote says, what difference does it make if we receive the body and blood and there is no change in us?
Right.
What difference? Why even receive it? So it's not just a ritual to be done. It's a ritual to live. It's a real thing to live out. Mm-hmm. And that is our nourishment to go forth and be the light. So, yeah, it's a good thing.
So, how about you, Mom? Another quote.
Back to me. Well, so this one really struck me. Sometimes it's a little bit uncomfortable, but, we're not here to be comfortable, right? So,
unfortunately.
So, and this is very simple. Like, I said, I resonate with the more simplistic because I know I understand this. I know I understand this quite well. So it's those who remain silent are responsible. Those who remain silent are responsible. And that's a challenge to me. To not be afraid. I can sometimes be the kind of person who, I don't want to upset people. I don't want to make anyone angry. Maybe I better just not say anything. And there's a lot going on in our world right now where it can be very uncomfortable to be, to talk about things that are on your heart. And I think we have to go back to that initial thing about the truth. What is the real truth? We need to figure that out. Mm-hmm. Because there is a divine truth about everything.
And we need to be standing up for it.
And we need to stand up for it because if we're silent, we are also responsible. Of course, the obvious example is abortion. Mm-hmm. We have got, if we do not defend those precious babes in the womb, if we do not defend life, who is going to defend life for them? In all of its forms, life in all of its forms, not just the babe, but, the elderly,
all the people who are dehumanized. I mean, the fact that Edith Stein was Jewish, and comes back to the Holocaust, anybody who is dehumanized, anyone who is seen as lesser in society and therefore unvaluable, and disposable, we need to stand up for those people.
Absolutely.
And yet again, when we're standing up, to stand up in such a way that we are above reproach, so standing up in a way that is
peaceful,
most likely going to be heard.
Loving, kind,
but truthful.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes that might require, even Jesus in his attempt to be truthful was, in the temple with the money changers and got very angry and had to upset a couple of tables to get people's attention. But, it's important that we constantly ask ourselves, what is the real truth? Mm-hmm. And that we defend that truth in every way possible. Just this weekend, we had, my husband was chairing a bike called Bike to the Bridge, and it's for cancer assistance. It's not the American Cancer Society, but it's cancer assistance for Williams County. And it was just a beautiful thing, and all these people come out to ride, and lots of money is raised to help assist people. And, we think about, it's easy to just turn your face the other way when you see someone who, is in need of help and needs financial assistance. And maybe you can't get your checkbook out and write a check for $20,000 to these people, but can you get on your bike and ride and, maybe pay $25 or something like that to help, because it all adds up, and it's playing your part. Or maybe you volunteer to be one of the people who helps make it happen. There's a very, lots of work involved in this particular fundraising event. So there are all kinds of ways that we can speak out and be the responsible person. All kinds of ways we can do that. So, yeah.
So another one, I loved that one as well. And maybe this is a little bit coming off of what we just said, but I love this. She often spoke about women. She was a woman, and she also was denied a lot of things that she wanted in life because she was a woman. And so she was really passionate about speaking out for women and about the beauty of women, the difference between men and women, and how it's wonderful and complementary and it's good. And so something that she said about specifically women is, the woman's soul is fashioned as a shelter in which other souls may unfold.
That's beautiful.
In which other souls may unfold. And I just thought about the fact that, I'm pregnant right now. Another soul is literally unfolding in my body.
I think this might be the first time we publicly announced that.
Yeah,
so,
that's right. So
she's pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
So five and a half months or so. So, yep.
And so, that really resonated with me, obviously, right now. But also just that, when people come to us, and this applies to men as well, but, when people come to you, are you a safe place for them, a safe haven? And are you a caretaker of their soul? Are you allowing them to be nourished and nurtured in your presence? And wouldn't you want people to?
Right.
Wouldn't you love that when people leave your presence, they feel, we've said this phrase before, but loved back to life and ready to greet the day and feeling more connected to God, connected to themselves, and ready to just continue on in life, because we know that life is very difficult. And don't we all want to be that safe haven for people, and to be a sanctuary, to be a shelter?
She talks a lot about how important it is for not just, I'm not going to get her words exactly right here, but not just what you are, but who you are as a gift to the world. Not just what you are, but who you are.
She said the world doesn't need what women have. It needs what women are.
Yeah.
And that was a big theme with her. The world
in a lot of her quotes that comes out. So it was kind of interesting to me as I was looking at all of the things she had to say. She really did have some predominant themes. And truth was one, the way in which you love this whole thing that you're mentioning right now, of who you are and how you bring that to the world as a gift to the world, to make the world a better place. She also, by the way, said she tells you to let go of your plans. Like we all have our plans. So she says, let go of your plans. And then she talks about the first hour of the day should be given to God. But that belongs to God. That first hour of every day is not yours. It's not the neighbors. It's not your boss. It is God's. And so, that's something to wrap your mind around. She says, tackle the day's work that He charges you with. And you're not going to know what that is unless you do give that first hour to God. So you do need to give that first hour to God. And she says, tackle the day's work that He charges you with, and He will give you the power to accomplish it. I mean, how many times have we been in a situation with our ministry where we're like, how are we going to get this done? How are we going to do this? And, we just surrender to Him. And by golly, He gets it done. He gets it done. I mean,
and not only that, but how different would our days be if you really did wake up and give the first hour of your day to God? How would that affect the rest of your day?
Oh, I can tell you, because I've experienced it firsthand. I mean, I try to do that, and the days when it doesn't happen, not so good. Not so good. The same thing with communion. The days that that I'm at Mass, things just seem to go better than on the days when I don't get there. And so, and I'm not saying, there are times when you just can't get there. And it just
but
is
making
what
a
it is.
spiritual communion
a
of
spiritual communion,
sort,
or praying a rosary,
exactly.
or doing something, having that spiritual hour, doing, something.
Getting recentered.
Recentered.
Starting your day focusing on whose am I,
Right.
What am I here for?
Right.
And, that really kind of aligns your priorities for the day.
It does. It should. It should.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It should. So
hopefully this whet your appetite about Saint Teresa Benedicta of the Cross, or Edith Stein, and has made you curious to do a little bit more digging, because seriously, there are so many more
We
quotes.
haven't even begun to really even whet the appetite.
No.